Good morning, everyone. Today we will start a new topic. So, as the name of the subject suggests, there is design of machine elements, which we have been looking at till now since your last semester. And now, last two modules, we are looking at design of mechanical systems. So, mechanical systems are nothing but assembly of machine elements, but they are geared towards a particular function. So, for example, in this course, we are going to look into a type of material handling system, that is EOT crane system, and another is the centrifugal pump. So both of them are nothing but assembly of different machine elements. So you already know how to design individual machine elements. So for example, how to design a shaft, how to design a gear, that you know. But when that shaft or gear becomes part of a particular mechanical system, for example, a shaft for drum pulley of a crane. So there, as a part of that system, it has to additionally fulfill some additional parameters. So every system had some distinctive features. So for example, if you take the system of EOT crane, the first thing that comes to your mind is the safety. So in any case, you don't want any component of that system to fail. So you'll find that consistently every component will have certain higher amount of factor of safety as compared to some other application. If you take into account, for example, the centrifugal pump, so in that case, the same shaft design, the design methodology remains same. However, the material selections can become an issue. If you are designing a pump for a particular, it is generally the shaft will be immersed in a liquid. In such a case, that shaft material has to be compatible with that particular material. So, in this fashion, the mechanical systems are nothing but application of what we have learned about the design of machine elements, but they are geared towards a particular functional needs of that system. Okay, so with this prelude, let's begin with today's topic. So, in this module, we are going to see how to design an EOT crane as a mechanical system. So, individual components of the crane, you already know the theoretical basis how to design that. But with respect to crane design, what special consideration we take into account, we'll take it as an illustration, means we'll do complete detailed design calculations for this crane, and in the process we'll understand what additional factors we are considering because it is part of a certain material handling system. We'll begin with the since it is a part of a material handling system, it can be conventionally the material handling equipment are divided into 6 types. The first type is called as a industrial vehicles or trucks. So that is what you see in these pictures. So this you see in various road, you will see this type of equipment, or if you go to any factory, you will find these industrial vehicles being used for different types of material handling, especially for material loading and unloading, they would be used. The second type is conveyors. So conveyors can be belt conveyors, or they can be roller conveyors, or they can be chain conveyors. So that is another type. Here it is mostly used for transport of loose materials such as sand or coal and so on. Very large amount of material transfer over very large distance. The third type is hoisting equipment. Hoisting equipment is the system of our interest. So within the hoisting equipment, we have different types of hoists. So these are the pulley block systems, the EOT cranes, and various other types of cranes, which will come in the hoisting equipment. Next, we have the bulk handling systems or bulk handling equipment. So that is like the excavators or earth moving machinery. So those devices, they have some features of crane as well as the industrial trucks or industrial vehicles. The auxiliary equipments are not actually the one which are part of the system. They are auxiliary, as the name suggests. They are add-on to a particular mechanical system. So one example would be feeders. So especially in the conveyor systems, where the conveyor conveys the material, but to feed this material, you require certain types of feeders. So that is an example of an auxiliary equipment. And lastly is robotic handling systems. So the systems which are automated and to some extent intelligent systems which are evolving over the years. So that is the robotic handling systems. So each of these systems are part of the material handling system, and they are characterized by the basic function that they have to transfer material from point A to point B safely and within a required time. So some material handling system may require fast transfer, some may require slow transfer, and so on. And safety is of prime most importance, because usually the material being handled itself could be fragile, or the material could be lethal material, or material could be very heavy material. So in either case, to prevent loss of property or human life, all these systems need to be highly reliable. So the factor of safety is required high. Now, having understood the basic theme that these systems work around, let's look into our particular type of system. Okay, so just based on the particular discussion, we are having a quiz. Putting the link to the quiz form in the chat box. So we have seen 6 systems, out of which the EOT crane fall under which system? Okay, let's look at the responses. Okay, so if you look at the slide that we just now saw, and the options which are there. So options there are bulk handling and industrial vehicles. So the industrial vehicles are one which are generally moving on the wheels. So although EOT cranes have the wheels, they do not come in the category of industrial vehicles, as they are not moving on the road. They have some constrained space within which they can work. So the industrial vehicle is not the correct answer. And bulk handling system is something like excavators or the systems for earth moving. So it is neither of these two. So the first and second both are wrong. So none of the above is the right answer. Okay, so let's move ahead. Now within the category of hoisting equipment, which is our area of interest, there are certain subtypes. The first one is the simple hoists for lifting. So they can be manually driven by chain, or they can be powered by electric motor or some other prime mover. The second, the hoist is generally for vertical lifting. If you have to do horizontal or inclined pulling, those systems, the pulley systems, are called as a winch systems. So that is the only difference between these two. The elevators is the third type of hoisting equipment. So elevators are the industrial elevators. They can be different types. One can be of cabin type, which is something similar to our domestic building lifts, or they could be a very specialized type that is of the bucket type elevators. We'll see in the subsequent slides. And there are variety of cranes. There are jeep cranes, there are EOT cranes, there are gantry cranes, there are tower cranes. So we'll see one by one quickly example of each of these. The first is hoist or winch. So in the hoist, in this case, it is driven by electric motor, but it could be manual also. So you'll find in very small workshops. So for example, if you go to your small car mechanic, he may have a manually driven pulley system by which he can pull the engine out of the car. So that is an example of hoist. If for some reason you have to apply force horizontally or in the inclined direction, so those systems are called winch. Essentially, the system consists of number of pulleys and either a rope or a chain. So those are the components of this system. This is the simplest of the hoisting systems. The second example is that of an elevator. So here, as I said, it could be a cabin elevator or it could be a bucket elevator. So in the bucket elevator are specially used for large mining industry, where you are excavating something and that you have to, for example, storing in some silo. So this particular system is a bucket elevator. So it has a series of buckets which are moving on a belt, and during the motion, the material, the bulk material, is getting transferred to the storage space. Coming to the cranes, there are different types of cranes. One which is common in medium size or small size workshops is the jeep crane. So this is like a cantilever. So you have a boom which can rotate about an axis. So this is, so you get a span about through which the material can be handled. Being a cantilever type of design, that means this is the hoisting system or the pulley block. So that particular block, it works on the boom which acts as a cantilever. So the capacity of these cranes is limited. So usually they are not for high capacity systems. They are low or medium capacity cranes. The second is overhead cranes. So as compared to the uh, jeep cranes, which are cantilever type, these are simply supported. So the main pulley block which comes at this particular point, this is a pulley block. So this particular block is resting on a structure which is supported at 2 points. One along this point and another which is not visible in this picture on another wall. So it is a simply supported structure on which the lifting is being done. And the load can have movement two directions. So one is transverse direction and another is the longitudinal direction. So that is the overhead crane. We are, of course, EOT crane is a overhead crane. So we'll be looking into more details of this. A gantry crane is nothing but open space EOT crane, except that instead of mounting on the walls, this particular crane has got these structures which are moving on ground mounted rails. So this is known as gantry crane. So it works in open space. It is again simply supported type of support system is there. Being working in outer space, the load conditions for these cranes are different than that for the EOT cranes, which are generally in the enclosed environment. So here you have to consider the climatic loads such as the wind load or wind load is the main load which will be coming. Wind load or snow loads, those needs to be considered for such type of cranes. Then you have the tower crane, which you see number of them in Mumbai, where a lot of construction works is going on. So this is again an scaled up version of gantry crane. So you have a long boom and a vertical structure through which you can do the movement. Okay, so we have another quiz coming on. Just the type of cranes or the hoisting systems that we have seen. Okay, so this was a simple question. I hope everybody gets it right. Okay, so majority of you are right. So bucket elevator is a type of hoisting system. So this is not the answer. Conveyor is a separate system altogether. So it is conveyor is the right answer. So this is not an hoisting system. And of course, none of the above is not correct. Okay, now we'll look to our main topic, that is the electric overhead traveling crane or EOT crane. It is also sometimes called as a electric overhead traction crane. So traction or traveling, both are the fit for the letter T, and you will hear both the expansion of this abbreviation. The EOT crane you will find in many of the fabrication shops. So almost all fabrication shops will have an EOT crane for transport of either the raw material or the finished goods, or just for assembly purpose, you will need them to hold some material during the assembly purpose. Being a system which is related to safety of human life, its reliability is very important. And all such systems where the reliability is important or human life, if the malfunction of that particular system could result in serious human problem, human life problem, then such systems you will have national standards. So you will find that there will be national standards for cranes, there will be national standards for pressure equipment, there will be national standards for nuclear devices and so on. So everywhere the safety part is taken care by these standards. So these are legal requirements. So in crane also, when you are designing the crane, you have to adhere to these particular standards. In addition to your, of course, theoretical knowledge, whatever you are doing, you have to ensure that the requirements of these standards are met. So related to crane, there are number of standards depending on the type of crane, and there are some standards which are general. So one of the general standard is this IS 13473. The part one gives definition of various uh, parameters or various features of the cranes. So one of the definition obviously is what is the crane. So if you look into the official or the definition as given in the standard, so crane is a cyclic action machine. So cyclic action because when you are lifting and loading and unloading your cargo or your objects, so that is a cyclic action. So within a life of an crane, it would have done lot of lifting and unlifting operations. It is used for hoisting, that is a vertical movement, and moving. So moving could be in lengthwise direction, longitudinal direction, or in transverse direction. The one feature of this crane is the load is suspended by means of some device. So this device, most common one is a hook, or there are other number of load handling devices such as magnetic chuck, or you can have forks, or you can have buckets. So there are different devices which are used in different types of industries. So the various definitions of various components are given. So here we have to understand that the crane is the device which is coming under fatigue loading. So all components are subjected to loads in a cyclic manner. And there is a movement of objects in space. So it is vertical as well as horizontal plane movements are there. And there are devices to hold the material. So each of these component, the device which holds the material, device which transfers or transports the material from one point to other point. So all of this needs to be properly taken care of in your design. You will find that any mechanical system or any machine as such, so there is machine and mechanical system are sort of interchangeable words. When you call a particular machine as a mechanical system, so for example, lathe is a machine which is used for material cutting. You can call lathe also as a mechanical system for machining. So when you call it as a mechanical system, you only look into the mechanical parts of that particular lathe. When you call lathe as a machine, you look into overall device, which is lathe. Then you also consider there the electric motor. You also consider their lubrication system if it is there. So everything becomes a single system. When you call mechanical lathe as a mechanical system, you only concentrate there only on the power transmission system and the cutting tool, holding devices, and so on. You separate out the prime mover, such as the engine or the electric motor which drives that particular lathe. You also separate out the lubrication system. So when you look into design as a system approach, you separate the main machine into different types of subsystems, and mainly based on the prime discipline to which it is catered. So you can have a particular EOT crane system, you can have and system which is related to prime mover. So an electric motor, which is the most commonly used. So that is the prime mover which will be used. So the electric motor and the controls related to the motion of electric motor. So they can be electrical system of the EOT crane. And all remaining components, what you see here on the screen, they are the mechanical system components. So let's look into the EOT crane parts. So the entire EOT crane can be divided into three subsystems. So there is an hoisting system. So what you see here is a hoisting system. That is the first system. Then you have what is known as trolley system. This trolley system is used for transverse movement of the load, and there is so this trolley would be moving in the transverse direction, and the other system is this girder system, which is this long beams what you see here. So that is a girder system which takes care of in the longitudinal direction. So these are the three main subsystems of the EOT crane system. We'll be looking into the design of EOT crane in terms of these three subsystems. If you look into the first subsystem, that is a hoisting subsystem, you will find that you will have there the snatch block. So we'll discuss how to design this particular snatch block. So snatch block is nothing but the pulley and hook arrangement, which is attached to the wire ropes. So which is used for upward movement of the system. So that is why it is called as a hoisting system. Then the second system you are having is the trolley, which takes care of the horizontal movement of the hoisting system. The trolley consists of the trolley frame, which is the basic structure on which all components are mounted. Then you have the main rope drum on which the drum is getting wounded. Then you have the trolley drive, so electric motor which drives the trolley. Then you will have trolley bumpers, which are required to take care of any obstacles if it comes in between. It's sort of a shock absorber. And then you have the electrical systems connected to the movement of the trolley, such as the pendant and electrical cable system for supplying power to this electric motor and so on. And the last system are the main girders. So you will have girders on which the rails are mounted, on which the trolley moves. And these particular girders, again, to drive, you require electric motor, you require wheels. So wheels are part of the girder system as well as the trolley systems. Both have the wheels. And yeah, so those are by far the main components of the EOT crane systems. So we'll be looking that in terms of the three subsystems. So first we'll look into hoisting system, then we'll look into the trolley system, and finally in this particular course we'll not be designing the girder system as such, because that design is similar to that of the trolley, only the dimensionally it is different. Okay, so we have looked at the different parts of the EOT crane, and in this course we'll be doing detailed design of all of these parts. So we'll be designing the snatch block, we'll be designing or selecting the wire ropes, we'll be designing the rope drum, we'll be designing the wheels for the trolley, the structure for the trolley, the bumpers for the trolley. So all those critical parts we'll be looking into. And while designing, there is nothing, formula-wise, there is nothing new in the design, except that to take care of the practical aspects of this particular function, that is the material handling. So there are some modifications or some factors which are introduced. So those that is what we have to learn. And how this main characteristic of system design is all these components must integrate together as a smoothly functioning system. So there should be compatibility between what rope size you are considering and what is the size of the drum. So there should be compatibility. So for if you consider 10 millimeter diameter rope, we'll see later you cannot arbitrarily choose any diameter of the drum. So there is some suggested or recommended range of diameters of the drum. There will be standardization of the parts. So usually the components which are frequently used, such as rope. So you will find that ropes, you will not in general get custom made. So you will have standard rope diameters which are available and you have to choose from those. So these are some of the things, essentially whatever you have learned till now, you will be integrating that in the system design, in this case, the design of ear-to-crane system. And that is the focus of our discussion. As I said earlier, since safety is one of the important feature and human life is involved, every country will have its own design standards. So the design standard for the cranes is, Indian standard is IS 3177. So any crane which is working in India must comply with the requirements of IS 3177 for its design. So it covers the code of practice for electric overhead traveling cranes and gantry cranes. So it is for both, that is the in-house cranes as well as the open cranes. Other than that, for the steelwork cranes. So steelwork cranes are different. So for them, the standard is IS 4137. So can somebody tell why the steelwork cranes could be having different requirements? So since different standards are there, that means steelworks would have some other requirements than the general cranes. So this is 3177 is for general application, whereas 4137 is for the steelwork crane. So what could be the difference between them? Or first, which could be more stringent?
So maybe in that steel work, that molten things are we export from one place to another.
Yeah, right, Prasad. So, so which would be more critical? You already given the answer. Only I want you to tell which would be more critical. The one which is carrying molten material or one which is carrying regular material?
The molten material.
Yeah, so there you require further additional safety factors. So it may not be molten material as hazardous as that. It could be just a heated material. So you may be in a steel mill or in the steel works, you may be working in the forge shop. So you'll be handling heated materials or the materials which are at very high temperatures or even medium temperatures. So those could be lethal components. So for the steel cranes, there is a separate standard which will have additional safety factors as compared to the regular 3177 grade cranes. And there are additional standards. So there are a number of standards, about 10 to 12 standards, which are related to different types of cranes. The one which is related to us is IS 3177, and somebody who would like to look into more details will look into the various definitions, and the general requirements would be given in the standards which are given in the last two lines of this particular slide. Okay, so before we proceed further, we'll look into what are the one of the standard, that is this IS 3177. which we'll be using in our design. So let's look into the actual standard and understand how that particular standard is being organized. So I'm just opening that standard. Before we open that standard, just tell me what do you expect to see in this particular standard, so that when you open the standard, you can have a look at. Okay, so I opened the standard. So I want you to first tell me what things do you expect to see in this standard. So what could be the organization of this standard? So what things do you expect to see in an design standard for cranes? So what will be, if there are suppose 10 chapters are there in this particular standard, so what would be the titles of those 10 chapters or sections? So let's
Material selection, regular tests.
Material selection. Okay. Okay, what could be the second one?
Some test which it should satisfy.
Test to be satisfied. So what do you mean by test? A destructive test or non-destructive test? You mean test on material or test on the finished crane?
For the materials, like if it's satisfying the requirements or not.
Okay. Will there be any test on the finished crane before we put it in practice?
Yes, I think.
It has. It is logical that suppose you are the buyer of this particular crane, you have to first ensure that the crane works. So there will be some kind of a testing which checks that whatever guaranteed capacity is there, that is getting satisfied without any problem by this particular crane. Okay, what else do you expect to see in the standard? So that's right. So here we are talking about design standards. So what all is involved in design? So material is correct part. Test is also related to that.
FOS.
Okay. So what are the different factor of safeties or the allowable stresses? Okay. What else do you expect to see? So what structure we are discussing here is almost common for any design standard that you open or any design code you open. You will find these chapters would always be there. What else do you expect?
So like selection of OEMs like motors and ropes.
Okay. So selection of standard parts. So how to select ropes or how to select, for example, pulleys, which are standard. Or as you said, OEM parts. Okay, what else?
Some correlations.
Can you elaborate?
Like if we have to select a part which is or some dimension which is not available in the table, then they prescribe some kind of graphs or correlations.
Okay. So sizing guidelines. Okay.
The safety systems of the electrical components,
What electrical components?
the overhead cables and all. So the regulations they should follow.
Okay. So regulation for electrical components. Okay. What else do you expect? Okay. Somebody, I did not see the chat box. So Isha said lubrication. Lubrication, or in general, we can talk about maintenance. The Tanisha's talk for formulae for maximum stress. I expected this to come first. I did not say when. Yes, formulae for stress. So there are different components in the crane. So how do you size this component? What are the design formulae to be used for different components? That is what maybe Tanish is suggesting. Anything else comes to your mind? Okay, so let's have a look at the standard itself and see what all things are there. Okay, so this is IS 3177 standard that we are looking into. So it is code of practice for electric overhead traveling cranes and gantry cranes other than steel works. So it is issued by Bureau of Indian Standards. So it is whenever the standards are there, they have the legal standing. So if any accident is there or any problem is there, the design verification would be done with respect to this particular standard. So first is the amendments or the revisions, which we'll skip. Okay, so any standard would have its scope defined. So that standard is applicable for what all types of cranes. So that would be defined here, and some nomenclature would be given here. So that is what you see here. So what types of crane this standard could be used. Then you have first section, which is general, which defines the different definitions. Then how do you specify the dimensions of the crane? So ultimately the design is in terms of two components. One is the calculations and second is the fabrication drawing. So what are the main components which one has to specify either to order a crane? So if you want to buy a crane, then what way you have to specify the dimensions? And if you are selling a crane, then what way you should specify the dimensions of your crane? So these are the mandatory dimensions which any seller or buyer must be aware of. Okay, then we come to the different loading conditions. We did not discuss in this particular list. So there are different loading conditions, which is very important. So before you design any system, what are the loads which are going to come on that system must be known. So that is what this system tells you. Then it comes into the mechanical design of components. So various components. So what are their loads to be considered? And what are the permissible stresses? So that is what, so loading we talked. Then formula for the permissible stress is somewhere point number 3, factor of safety. What are the allowable stresses? So those are defined here. Then we are having the different component designs. So for design of lifting hooks, how do you design the lifting hooks? How do you design the shafts, and so on? So there'll be different components. How do you design wire rope? So these things are getting. I will just maximize it so that maybe you can see it better. So design of wire ropes, design of rope drum, then design of the sheaves or the pulleys, design of the wheels. So it gives you the guidelines for all this. So these calculations you must satisfy. In addition to that, you can have your own proprietary calculations, but these calculations you must, as somebody had said, you have the different correlations for sizing. Then you have the how to select the bearings. As somebody had said, the lubrication or the maintenance requirements. So those are also mentioned there. What are the different gearboxes which are to be used? So what are the gearing arrangements? Then there are buffers, there are couplings, there are brake systems, there are fasteners. So you have studied all of this in your 6th and 7th semester. So all those components you already know how to design them. With respect to the crane system, this particular standard will tell what additional requirements or what additional factors that you have to consider for this component. So that is what would be given here. Then guarding and weather protection. So this we did not discuss, but very important that you require. And motion limiting devices, some safety, additional safety devices. And how to make drawings and documents. Then there is a discussion about the electrical part of the cranes. So we'll not be looking into that in this case, but there are different electrical components or which are there, including the controls. So crane controlling arrangements, how to design them. So it should be mostly taken care by the electrical engineers. So what are the control circuits and controls which are required for different operations? What are the protective devices? So if we just scroll through this particular standard, which I'll be giving in the classroom, it will just give a good idea as to how detailed a particular system design is there. So somebody has to design a EOT crane professionally or for purpose of selling in the industry, then you have to take care of all these aspects. So everything including auxiliary requirements like lighting on the cranes. So that is also standardized. So it is, each of them are related to safety. So when you are working in the night or in the artificial lighting system, what should be the intensity of light so that your operations could be safely carried out. Then there are different drawing requirements. And as somebody said in the beginning, so inspection and testing. So how this crane systems, when it is fabricated, how it is to be inspected and how it is to be tested. So those things are given here. Then there is a sort of a checklist which, so this is an inspection checklist. So wiring, any defect noted, any type of wiring, what is the type of wiring rectification for crane, for trolley, for cabin. So the inspector would be writing his or her remarks in this particular table, in this particular checklist. Then there is insulation test, the final test certificate. So the certificate will have all the checks, whether the welds, any cracks are observed, or if they are observed, whether they are repaired, and so on. So as you can see, it is very exhaustive system which gives all requirements, not only of the design, the basic design, but also of the operation, maintenance, fabrication. So these three aspects, as a designer, you must be knowing that you cannot simply design a shaft, means shaft diameter by the torsion formula we calculate. That is not the end of design. That is just one part of the design. Actual design is related to many things: how that shaft will be manufactured, what material to be used, how the material will survive over the life of that particular component. Then what is the way, if you are ordering the material, what kind of NDT you have to do before ordering the material for the shaft. Once the shaft is machined and surface finish, means final shaft is obtained, what kind of inspection you have to do. So all those are part of the design. So you cannot say that my design is simply applying torsion formula. So that is 5-minute job. But the actual designer has to consider many other things, where that shaft is going to function, what components are getting coupled with that particular shaft. And that is where your 4 years curriculum is involved. Just given a software, one can easily calculate shaft diameter for given power transmission. So much kilowatts to be transferred at this much RPM. And one can calculate the shaft diameter very quickly without studying engineering. But the engineering knowledge is used whether, first of all, that shaft could be manufactured. If it is to be manufactured, what are the different alternatives? What are the different materials? What are the advantages and disadvantages of different manufacturing methods, materials? What are the ways in which you can detect the defects in that material? If the defects are detected, then how do you take a decision whether that defect is acceptable or not acceptable? So those are all engineering decisions, and they are, as a designer, you must be aware of all of this. So machine design is an interesting subject which spans to all dimensions of engineering. It is not only design. If you go to workshop also, the fabricator has to know some elements of the designer, of the design calculations. He may not be master of that, but must know the basic calculations involved, which you are learning in your undergraduate studies. And similarly, the designer has to know, may not know the full details of the fabrication, but at least know what is possible, what is not possible. So that this particular system design gives you an opportunity to look in a holistic manner into the design of mechanical system for here in this particular case, that of an EOT crane. Okay, so we are having a quiz. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so majority of you are right. So IS 3177 is the design standard for design of the cranes other than steelworks. Okay, so when you are designing, there is some classification system which is based on what is the uses of crane. So there are some service conditions which are more severe than the others. So here you will find that there is a usage of the crane, and then there is a group classification. So the cranes are classified into 8 classes from M1 to M8. So that is the classification of the cranes. So within the crane, there are 3 subsystems. One is the hoisting system. The second is the traversing system, that is the trolley system. And the third is traveling system, that is in the longitudinal direction, the girded system, the long travel system. So each of these system has been assigned with a certain class based on what service you are working in. So for example, if it is a manually powered crane, the simplest of it, so there is no prime mover. So in that case, it is treated as all the 3 systems are of class M1. Whereas if you consider a workshop crane, which is for regular light use, then you will find that the hoisting system is class 3. The traversing system or the trolley system is class M2, and and the traveling system is M3. So those are, so this is based on the experience. So once you have decided the class, your design factors such as factor of safeties and other calculations, which you are going to see shortly. So those factors will get defined by the class of the crane. Now we'll be using the design data book, the Bhandari design data book for our calculation. So that refers to classes which are as per the old standards. So what 8 classes we have seen M1 to M8, they are as per the new IS standard, whereas the design data book refers to the earlier system where earlier IS standard which had only 4 classes. So as a result, you will see there is a class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4 in the design data book. Since we are referring this, so we'll be looking as a mix as far as possible. I will try to stick to, I had tried to stick to the design data book requirement. So especially for the offline exam. So since you have the only design data book available to you in that scenario, this sticking to this design data book was important. But now in the scenario where you have access to everything, this holds little importance, means you can refer to actual IS standard rather than the design data book. Nevertheless, I will be sticking to the same way. So the design data book gives you classification as per the old system, and IS standard itself gives you the correlation between the old class and the new class. So for example, if it is a old equivalent class 3, so for example, if this is class 3, then it is equivalent to new classification as M7. Right. So so we'll have sort of a hybrid thing. So certain things are available in the design data book, which we'll use as far as possible. And there are some factors which are not available, which we'll take from IS 3177 standard. So those factors would be made available to you. Those which are not there in the design data book, so they would be made available to you in the question paper itself. Okay, so here just like the uses which was there in the IS standard, here it is given in terms of the service conditions. So you have, for example, the cranes for continuous process for steel work, and there is number of hours of service per year. So if it is in this particular manner, then it will be a class 4 crane. Whereas if it is a cranes for occasional use and up to 1000 hours per year is the service, then it can be class 1 or class 2. So it is up to designer to find out what class to consider. Depending on this class, then there are certain factors which we'll see in the next part. So that impact factor is coming out of this table, which one would be using for the design calculations. Okay, so now we have some quiz coming up. Okay, so not many respondent for this question. I thought it is simple question. So the classification of the crane depends on both. So it depends on uses of crane as well as the number of service, as we have seen in the previous table. So the first is the service condition, and second is the number of service hours per year. So both of above is the correct answer to this particular case. Okay, so essentially the cranes use the mechanism is the pulley system. So which is the simplest. You can have some kind of bar mechanism, but that is rare in the hoisting system. It is more prevalent in the robotic handling system. So in the pulley system, you can have a simple pulley system. So simple pulley system would have something like 2 pulley system or 3 pulley system. So for example, in this 2 pulley system, you have the load which is Q, and this is the fixed pulley, and you are applying effort Z, which is applied at the end of this particular pulley. So in this particular case, you have 3 falls of the rope. So first fall comes from the top pulley, or rather it comes first from here, that is from load point to the top pulley, then from top pulley to the second pulley, and then it goes to the effort point. So you are having 3 fall. So this is known as a 3 fall system. Similarly, here there is a 4 fall system. So in this particular system, there are 4 strands of rope which are in the load direction. So can somebody tell what would be the load which is in the first system? So the first system which has got 3 falls. So if this load is Q, what would be the effort which is required here at this particular pulley in terms of Q?
So Q by 3.
Yeah, that's right. So Tanish also given Q by 3. So that's right. So essentially the pulley system, the mechanical advantage comes by the number of falls. So this particular load will be shared by the 3 falls. So each of the fall will have theoretical load which is given by Q by 3. We'll see later that this is in static condition, this is Q by 3. When it is moving, then it has to overcome the frictional torque. As a result, this tension will be higher than what is theoretical. That will come to it later. So the simple pulley system runs in this particular manner. And the advantage of this system is the mechanical advantage that you fetch from this pulley system. So you require 1/3 effort as compared to the load. And what you lose in this particular system is the speed. So if you are simply applying the full force Q, then you can lift, for example, at 1 meter per second. For 3 fall system, so let's say if this velocity is V, what would be the velocity V dash in terms of V? Can somebody tell? What would be the velocity at the load point? If the effort is moving at the velocity V, for example, 1 meter per second, what would be the velocity at the load point, lifting point? Yeah, Tanish is giving V by 3, that is right. So essentially the work done, the conservation of energy or conservation of work demands that if it is work done at this point is QV by 3. So same work will be at the output end as also. So the velocity here is reduced. So here effort is reduced, the price you have to pay in terms of velocity. So if you are lifting with 1/3 of the force, what you lose is the lifting velocity would be 3 times less. So you have to apply that 1/3 force for longer time in order to move it by the same distance. So that is obvious. So for gaining something, the effort if you want to gain, then they have to lose in terms of something else, which is the displacement or the velocity. So okay, now this particular simple pulley system has got one distinct disadvantage, but that is why in EOT crane you will not find this type of simple pulley system in which all pulleys are in one particular plane. So then in this system, the pulleys are in one particular plane. In EOT cranes, we have the same four-fall system which is shown here. You have a different arrangement in which the pulleys are in different planes. So for example, in this case, the main rope drum, this particular drum, from there two falls comes and there are two pulleys at the bottom and there is one idler pulley here, and this is the system. So in this case, the pulleys are located in different planes with respect to drum. The advantage you gain here or the disadvantage of the previous system is in this particular case, let me draw a front view which will give a more clear. And so if this is a rope drum, and let's say you are lifting from this particular point. So as you start winding this particular drum, this rope will start winding up and it will move. So you will find that after you lift this particular load by certain distance, it has got the vertical movement, which is what is desirable, but there is some horizontal movement, which is usually undesirable, which also happens in the simple pulley system. So in the simple pulley system, you have the transverse movement of the load, which is usually undesirable. Whereas in the multiple pulley system, which is shown, which is used in the EOT cranes, you will find that this load will not have any transverse movement. So there will not be any movement along the axis of the drum in this particular case. So because of the symmetry, you will have the load which will always remain in a particular in the same axis. So that is very important in material handling, where you don't want unnecessary to and fro movement in order to achieve means you lift for a short distance, then again move horizontally for short distance. So this kind of trial and errors one would not like to have. One would like to lift it vertically upward without any horizontal movement, without any automatic horizontal movement. So that is one advantage. The second advantage of this multiple pulley system, which is shown, which is used in the EOT cranes, is that this particular system is stiffer. If you consider this particular system, it has got sort of sway or flexibility in the along the length of the drum. So one is the automatic movement along the length of the drum, and also it is, since all pulleys are located in this particular plane only, so it is less stiff in this direction. So there is a possibility that this load will swing in this particular direction. Whereas this particular system, which is used in the EOT cranes, is substantially stiffer, and there is less chance of sway or swing in the transverse in the direction along the axis of the drum. So these are the two advantages that are there in the multiple pulley system, which is used in the EOT cranes. So the difference in the left-hand side pulley system is that all pulleys are in more or less single plane, whereas in this case, the different pulleys are in different planes, and the distribution gives them higher stiffness and also no transverse moment during the lifting or during the vertical movement. So let's have a quiz on this particular point. So majority of you have got the right answer. So the main disadvantage of the simple pulley system is the side movement of the hook during hoisting. The mechanical advantage, if the number of falls is same, would be equal in the both the systems. So this is not correct. So second answer is the correct answer. Now we'll enter into the actual design domain. So there are certain load conditions or load combinations. Those are to be considered in the design of the cranes. So there are 4 load combinations to be considered in the design of the crane. First is a normal service. So normal service is the normal operating loads. Second is normal service condition with the wind. So this is more applicable to the gantry cranes. So the 3177 standard deals with both the in-house cranes as well as the gantry cranes. So the gantry cranes will be subjected to wind loads. So that is a separate case. The in-house cranes would have very limited exposure to the wind. So usually this load condition would not be applicable to them. The third system is crane out of service conditions. So what happens is that during the annual overhaul or maintenance time, that crane, some of the components would be removed from the crane for maintenance purpose. Now removal of certain components, it may appear that it will be less loading condition, but there are certain components which are under compressive loading when the full assembly is there. As soon as you remove certain component, certain loads or certain components, the components which are earlier in the compression may go in tension, and that kind of reversal of the loading may lead to some kind of problem for some of the components. So that is why crane out of service condition. So the way you are dismantling the system may have influence on design of certain components, or that is the one which needs to be considered. And lastly, there is exceptional loading condition. So exceptional loading comes during testing. Usually the cranes are tested not for the rated load, but certain factor higher than the rated load. So if you have a crane for example, 10 tons, we'll test it for example, 12 tons, which is higher than 10 tons. So that is only once in the lifetime of the crane that it will undergo that particular loading, but it should be able to withstand it. So the designer has to take care of this testing condition load, which falls under exceptional loading condition. Then there is erection and commissioning. So this is very similar to out of service condition. So during erection and commissioning, the components will be assembled in a particular fashion. So when you are assembling certain components, which in the final assembly would be under regular stress during the assembly procedure. So for example, one particular component which is supported at both the ends, but during assembly, I'm just giving an arbitrary example. During assembly, this particular part, the support part, for example, cannot be assembled simultaneously. So momentarily till this point, this assembly is done. This particular component, instead of being simply supported, it will be a cantilever arrangement. So that particular study, the sequence in which the erection or commissioning is going to happen, would lead to certain loading patterns which needs to be considered. And there is an accident or the collision between two cranes or collision between components of the crane. So that possibility also needs to be considered. In this particular course, we are going to consider only the normal service condition loading, and other parts we are not including. The normal service covers all the calculations. So similar calculations are to be done for the other loading conditions as well. Now during the normal loading condition, the load to be considered is given by Rn, and that Rn is defined as follows. So it is defined in terms of 5 components. The first component is Rd, that is the dead weight of the components. So when you are talking, for example, a snatch block, so snatch block will consist of pulleys, then some kind of plate, and to which the hook is getting attached. So this, for example, if you are designing this particular component, this entire system, when you are designing this particular rope, the rope in addition to load which is coming here, coming on the hook, will have to bear the weight of all the components which are involved here, including that of the hook. So those the load to be lifted does not include this additional load. So this RD is the dead weight of the components which are attached to that particular part. The second is a hook load. So this is the rated capacity or safe working load. So this is the design specification of the crane would specify that what is the safe working load. So that is the hook load or RH. The third one is dynamic load coming from acceleration or braking. So during lifting operation or during the braking operation, there can be acceleration and deacceleration. So the inertia force, mass into that acceleration needs to be considered here. So those are the RM condition. And lastly, the frictional forces. So the frictional forces which appear in the crane. So note that we have, for example, this particular pulley system, the simple pulley system. So one is a fixed end and another is pull end, and here load is W. In static condition, as you have said, the load to be lifted is W by 2. So the tension in the rope, entire tension in the rope will be W by 2. But when this rope is moving, so you're having a motion at this particular end, what will happen is that this rope will have to slide over this particular pulley for maintaining this particular velocity. As it slides on this particular pulley, there will be some rubbing friction which will occur. So at the pulley, there is some additional torque, frictional torque which will get generated. So as a result, you will have this W by 2. In addition, there will be some frictional force which is going to come. So that is what is this RF. So this RF is required to overcome the frictional torque at the pulley or whatever sliding parts are there in this particular arrangement. So that is the RF particular part. So in case of trolley which is moving on rails, so the frictional torque which is getting generated on the wheel bearings, so that is an example of the frictional load. So if you look at the formula, so it consists of two parts. The first part is consisting of the part what I discussed. So 4 components what we discussed, and there is second part which consists of another component. So in this case, it is RD, that is dead weight, plus what is known as RHI. So this RHI is hook load increased by impact factor. This impact factor is getting defined in the with respect to the class of the crane. So we have seen the extract from the design data book where the classification of cranes was given as class 1, 2, class 3, class 4. So each of the class has got this impact factor. So that needs to be considered here. So for structural parts, so this loading is different for different parts. So for structural parts, the load to be considered is given by maximum of addition of these first 4 components or the last 2 components. So whichever is higher is the design for structural parts. Whereas for the rope design, this RHI or the impact load factor is not considered. That is because the rope design, as we see in the design calculation, it has got a separate inclusion of the impact effect. So as a result, here for rope design, the formula is only the first 4 components. So that is this particular part is considered for the rope design. Okay, so we'll have some quiz related to this. So we have seen that there are different formulae, one for the structural part and one for the rope design. So again, majority of you are right. So impact loading is not considered. So that is the correct answer. And load of acceleration is considered, and both of is not true. So the allowable stress and other parts we'll consider in the next lecture. So we'll stop here for today. As I announced in the classroom, so in this week there are no tutorial sessions. So you can utilize this material to, if you have any pending assignments up to A0 to A8, so that you have to complete this week. Next week during the tutorial slot, we will have a Viva examination, which will carry towards points of the term work. So make sure that you complete all the assignments and the project number 1. So project number 1 report is to be uploaded, as well as all 8 assignments are to be uploaded before end of this particular week. And next week, batch by batch, we will have Viva examination, and examination questions will be related only to assignment A01 to A08. No question related to project. It is only related to, not that I won't ask question. If you are able to answer everything, I may ask something on project as well. Okay. Okay, so that's all. So we'll end today's session here unless you have some questions.